an update on my Avios Spitfire Mk.Ia, and I want to talk about the decals. The plane's here. Let's have a look at the plane. You can see there's a white spot where the decal should be. That's a piece of A4 paper that's cut to size and stuck on with Aquadeer PVA glue. I really wish I could take it off, but it's already pretty well stuck on there. And behind it is the actual decal, which I've also cut out a piece of A4 paper and put it onto the back of the decal, because the decal has various different components. And on this decal here, one of the components was missing, like a quality control issue. It was missing its backing, so I've had to make a backing here for the whole decal. The reason why I did this one here is because the white part, the white colour of the decal of the RAF roundel was clear, it was missing, there was no paint. So there's been problems with the decals. Also, these tail fin decals, there's a problem. One of them was good and the other one was not cut to shape, so I had to cut it to shape myself. Again, quality control issue. With these two roundel decals here, now that I look at it, that one is a different colour than that one, because that one has got, one of them is not complete yet. And again, the same problem as I had with that decal there. One of these decals, I think it's that one, yeah, it is that one, had the same problem. There's no backing, there's no backing underneath, and they're supposed to just glue on and all sorts. But another thing is that in the instructions it said that they recommend, get this, because this is a styrofoam aeroplane, they recommended to get an iron and to iron the decals onto the plane. They're saying we strongly recommend ironing the decals onto the plane. I mean, give me a break, it's made of styrofoam. And they're saying to use an iron, a hot iron, to iron the decals onto the styrofoam plane. I don't have an iron. I could probably get access to one, but I don't. It's, you know, borrowing someone else's iron to do an experiment like this, you might wreck the iron, you might get damage on the surface of the iron. I didn't want to do that. So instead I devised a system. I had to engineer a system to iron the decals onto the plane. Can you imagine how I did that? Oops. I think I just tapped. Okay, the microphone's on. Yeah, what I did is I boiled the kettle and I used the wall of the kettle to iron the decals onto the plane, because I actually Google searched the styrofoam melting temperature, and it starts to get funky at 100 degrees, but it actually melts at like 237 degrees or something like that. So a kettle is only going to go to 100 momentarily, and then it'll start dropping from there. So you're pretty safe if you're at 100 and dropping in temperature to not melt the styrofoam. So basically I boiled the kettle and I used the kettle to iron on the decals, but a kettle's a bulky item, there's some areas that you can't reach with the kettle. So they remained unstuck to the plane. So then I got a coffee cup and I filled it up with boiling water, and I used the coffee cup to iron the decals onto the plane in the hard to reach places. So that's for the decals that are working. You've even got that extra ridiculous step to do. But like I said, for half of the big decals, they're missing a component. They're missing the white backing and the white paint. So if I was to just stick that roundel onto there without putting on A4 paper, in the center where they're supposed to be white, there's a red dot in the center, but around that they're supposed to be white. The white would be missing, and you'd have all the colors, but you just, where they're supposed to be white, there'll just be the camouflage of the aeroplane. So one person watching, one thumbs up, hello. So like I said, one of these was cut correctly and one of them was not cut at all. It was a square, a giant square. I had to cut all the way around on both of them I had to cut around the edges, even the one that was cut correctly, because it had problems. So this is one that is a malfunction, and it's really, and you can see I've still got the adhesive, this part of the decal here. So I have to do something with this one. That one, they didn't give clear instructions as to where it should be mounted. It looked like it should be mounted there. But if I did it again, I'd move it across a bit to not be on top of the Canon magazine. But it seemed like that was the exact spot where they were saying to put it. But then, yeah, when I looked at their video, they just put it over here sort of thing. So yeah, pretty soon I'm going to get that decal there and put onto here. I'm just leaving it in the sun to dry because I've just put a backing onto it. it's drying PVA glue. This one worked out okay-ish. It's still not really, it's still needing some attention. I'll need to glue that on. I can't remember. What the heck is all this stuff? There's some kind of dots here. Where did this come from? What the heck? That's it's disturbing. Anyways, this one was the better one, and it hasn't really worked that well. And then this one here, I had to cut it to size. You can see I'm gonna have to, can you see that? I'm gonna have to do something with that, and they don't really stick. I'm gonna need to probably iron that on, but even so. Over here I had success with these ones. This was one decal, believe it or not, one big long decal with the code, the serial, the code, and the roundel. It was complete, it worked well. The white bits there, and it went on nicely. And it was ironed on, and it seems to be perfect. This one here looks like it's come up here. So this was one that worked, but it seems to be having some issues. It's very hot in the sun. Maybe I can use the sun to iron it on. Very hot, that's too hot to touch almost. Here's the decal. Here's the decal for this side. And I'm gluing a backing onto it, which is just A4 paper, which I've cut to size. So that's going to go there. It is actually one decal with this serial and this code. This one was tearing when I tried to put it on. Long story short, the decals have been an effing disaster on this plane. So, as you can see though, it's got retractable undercarriage. So I'll put this decal on today, once it's dry. As you can see though, the proportions of the plane are pretty well perfect. Looks beautiful. 1.4 meter wingspan. It's got big exhausts. I haven't got the exhausts in at the moment. I'll have to glue them in. They didn't tell me in the kit what kind of glue to use. I'm really upset about. I think they should have included the glue. I bought this a long time ago, about a month ago. I still haven't glued any of the components together. So the reason for that is they didn't give me any glue to work with it, and they didn't tell me what type of glue to use. There was one mention. I had to do a Control F word search in the instruction manual on the PDF on the internet. There was one mention of glue, and it was actually cement, and they said to use contact glue or contact cement or something. And I'm like, great, what the fuck are you talking about? What is contact cement? What is contact glue? Give me a, you know, that sounds like a very broad term, like beach towel or something. I don't know, like it's not specific enough. So beach towel is a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like you need to get it right with these. The glue needs to work, but at the same time, it needs to be a type of glue that is guaranteed to not melt styrofoam. Because if you know what I'm talking about, if you just use super glue on a plane like this, it's made of styrofoam. The super glue is actually going to melt the plane. So it's imperative to get the right kind of glue. So yeah, mixed feelings about this plane. I'm really not enjoying the decal situation. And I really wanted them to include glue with the kit, the types of glue that you'll need. If there's more than one, just include all of them. The decals should just be on the plane from the factory. It probably cost them an extra $3 to get someone to put the decals on. Instead, they've made the consumer put the decals on. There's no quality control on the decals. Half of them are missing components, and the ones that do work, it's kind of hit and miss, and they're requiring you to iron the decals on. That's just too much. They need to get the factory to do that. Even if you have to pay an extra 20 bucks, they should get the factory to do it. It is not fun. It has slowed me down many, many days and weeks fussing with these effing decals. All right, it's no good. So there's good and bad in this. I mean, obviously, look at the plane. It's beautiful. It's extremely beautiful. So the proportions, in my opinion, are perfect. I think they're perfect Spitfire proportions. That's important to note because there's plenty of model Spitfires around out there where they've made no attempt at all to make the proportions correct. They make it too bulky and too this and too that. They make the wing shape wrong. This one, they've made a real effort to make the whole shape of the plane good. And it's really fascinating to look at, because I think it's the correct kind of way that a Spitfire should look. What do we got here? There's a comment there, but I can't see it because NASA. It's Frag. G'day, Frag. It's so sunny here, I can't see what you said. Ooh, nice build. Thanks, man. Good to see you again. So, yeah, I'm getting away from the video games and stuff for the moment and just like trying to get into real flying. Things that really fly in real life. So, another interesting thing about this model, most planes, when you take off, you give it right rudder. Like, that means the rudder goes like that to make the nose go that way, to make the plane bank that way a bit, because the propeller torque makes the plane want to roll and turn that way. With this plane, they've countered that in an interesting way. They've actually got the propeller facing that way a bit, so that any engine thrust is going to be offset going back to the left a bit instead of down the center line. And that apparently is how they've designed it. They designed it like that on purpose. So that's pretty unusual. So yeah, you can see just how big the wings are on the Spitfire. They're big wings, a lot of surface area. And then you can see just how thin, and the tailplane is big wing area too. The actual fuselage is very thin, extremely thin. So you've got an extremely thin fuselage and really huge wings on the Spitfire. So it's interesting. We're not looking at a video game, we're looking at real life. So it's interesting to look at the proportions of an accurate model of a Spitfire in real life. You can see it. It's different than looking at it on a 2D screen. You look at it on a computer screen, you don't really see it in that much detail. So, and remember, it's not fully put together yet. So, like, there's going to be a bulletproof glass on the windscreen and stuff like that. They also made me put the 303 ports, put on some stickers on there, and they end up looking pretty average, really. I don't know if you can see that. It's so bright I can't see my screen. But there, and there, you had to put the stickers on. So yeah, you need a whole bunch of stuff like special tools. Not special, but oh shit, that paint is just coming off. There was a thing I wanted to scratch off and I ended up removing paint, and there's white under there. I'll need to get a black texture and just cover that over. So yeah, and it's made of foam too, so I think overall it looks good. Like, the proportions are good, the paint scheme is good. The mix of materials, like you've got a canopy. You don't just have a canopy made of styrofoam or some crap like that. You actually have a proper nice plastic clear canopy. There's even a reflector gun sight in there. Don't know if you can see that. Just there's a reflector. There's even an instrument panel in there. You can pull back the canopy. It's hard to do though. And there's even a door. There's a door there. So it's a mixture of really, really good features and a few things that you don't like having to put the decals on yourself and it being a real drama. So underneath, I should show you underneath the plane as well, I suppose. Just hold on and I'll tip the plane upside down. Hang on. It's so dark. The screen is so dark. I can't even see anything on the screen. So I'm sure you guys can see this though. So there's the underside of the plane. It's a Mk.Ia, so it's an early Spitfire. So the model just after they had the strut canopy. This one's got the bubble canopy. So there's things to do to cover over the servos. You need glue for that. I don't have the glue. I don't know what glue to use. Contact glue. Yeah, thanks, Avios. Contact glue. You can go to the shop and ask for contact glue and they'll be like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, they're not making sense. So that's no good. I've delayed for weeks because I don't have the glue for this. Thanks, Avios. Just a few bucks more and they can chuck the glue in, the correct glue to use for the plane, and then that solves the headache of the customer. A lot of customers are just going to get super glue, put it on this, on the styrofoam and start melting the styrofoam, stuff like that. So that's a problem. So we need glue, we need decals put on by the factory. We need quality control for the decals so that I don't have to iron them on and engineer components for the missing components of the decals. Apart from that, I mean, you can see it's really looking nice. So yeah, I can't see this screen at all. Let me see if I can turn it around. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just wanted to talk about my Spitfire model, how it's going. I'm going to use it as the basis as well for doing some artwork, because I think its proportions are really good and it looks really good, and I can take photos of it from different angles and I can use it for basis of doing some more aeroplane artwork, t-shirts with Spitfires on them and things like that. So that's one reason why I bought it. I was actually going to buy a plastic scale model, like a 148 or a 132 or even a 172 scale Spitfire, the early one that's almost the prototype with the straight canopy, no bubble canopy, and with the single-bladed wooden propeller. That early Spitfire Mark 1, not Spitfire Mark 1A. I was going to get a Spitfire Mark 1. And this one's the closest. This is a compromise, right? Like, I wanted a scale model, but I also thought, well, I want a big model, and I can buy a big scale model for 250 bucks, or I can spend 600 bucks on this one, and it's a scale model, and it's also a remote control plane. So eventually, when I get the radio control and the receiver and the battery pack, then I can start to fly it. If you guys want to support that effort, there's a GoFundMe that I've got up right now to fund the acquisition of the stuff so I can fly the Spitfire, which you would see on the channel. I can't fly it right now because I can't afford the rest of the components. So yeah, that's what's sort of in the works there. So I might be making some Spitfire t-shirts out of this. I think it's a good scale model. I think it looks really good, the proportions are good, the paintwork is looking nice. They've made a lot of effort with certain things, but just like I said, the decal, the lack of glue, the lack of specificity on what kind of glue you're supposed to use, all of these things are a problem. So, and the cat's come to commune with us. Hello, Puss Puss. She caught a mouse earlier. She came up to me meowing with a mouse in her jaws. She was meowing with the mouse in her mouth. Meow, meow, with the mouse in. Hello, Puss. So, what do you think of the Spitfire Mark 1A, Puss Puss? So, yeah. So yeah, that's the Spitfire. Well, that's the end of the stream. Thanks for listening. See you guys later. Bye.